If you've been squatting the same way for some time, same stance, same bar position, same torso angle, your body adapts and your progress slows down. Not because the squat stops working, but because you're not changing how you use it. And that starts with your stance. With a narrower stance, your femur moves forward, mostly in one plane. As your weight shifts forward, your tibia moves forward relative to the foot to keep the bar balanced over the midfoot, and your knees travel further forward. As you push into the floor pushes back through the midfoot, your center of balance. And because your knees are farther forward, that force creates a larger moment arm at the knees relative to the hips, increasing the mechanical demand on the quadriceps, so the quadriceps have to contribute more to bring you back up. With a wider stance, your femurs move out at an angle as they flex. That keeps the knees from traveling as far forward. So in relation to the midfoot, the hips move further back relative to the knees. And the moment arm becomes the bigger at the hips relative to the knees, which shifts more of the load to the glutes. So the glutes have to work harder than the quadriceps to bring you back up. Another variable that changes squat mechanics is torso angle. With a more upright torso, the knees stay farther forward from the midfoot. At the same time, the hips stay closer to the midfoot relative to the knees, creating a larger moment arm at the knees and a smaller moment arm at the hips, increasing the mechanical demand on the quadriceps, which makes the quadriceps more responsible for driving you out of the bottom position. As the torso leans farther forward, the hips move farther behind the midfoot. At the same time, the knees stay closer to the midfoot relative to the hips, creating a larger moment arm at the hips and a smaller moment arm at the knees, increasing the mechanical demand on the glutes, which makes the glutes more responsible for driving you out of the bottom position. Another variable that changes squat mechanics is bar position. With a high bar squat, the bar sits higher on the torso. Because the load is positioned higher, the squat is typically performed with a more upright torso. As the torso stays more upright, the hips don't travel as far behind the midfoot, so the knees must bend more to reach depth, which generally increases the contribution of the quadriceps. With a low bar squat, the bar sits lower on the torso. Because the load is positioned lower, the squat is typically performed with more forward torso lean. As the torso leans farther forward, the hips travel farther behind the midfoot, and the knees don't need to travel as far forward to reach depth, which generally increases the contribution of the glutes. Now that you understand how these variables influence squat mechanics, here's a simple way to use them to develop a more complete lower body and produce force vertically and laterally. Before you squat, choose your stance. A wide stance promotes hip-dominant mechanics, increasing lateral force production and the contribution of the glutes, adductors, and hamstrings. A narrow stance promotes knee-dominant mechanics, increasing vertical force production and the contribution of the quadriceps. A neutral stance provides a balance between the two. Next, choose your torso angle. This variable modifies the effect created by the stance. A forward torso lean amplifies the effects of a wide stance, increasing the contribution of the glutes and posterior chain. A more upright torso amplifies the effects of a narrow stance, increasing the contribution of the quadriceps. Finally, select your bar position. This variable typically reinforces the torso angle. A low bar position tends to reinforce a forward torso lean, while a high bar position tends to reinforce a more upright torso position.